We're going to do an energy check and see what you've got going on for the full moon. So you have some sort of successes coming through. It's kind of in the energy of you've been trying to manifest something small that's going to kind of grow into something larger later. It's kind of like, I need to accomplish this before I can accomplish this. And it seems like you've recently come into a place of control over this in a way that you maybe didn't have before. It kind of seems like in the past, the energy surrounding this was kind of unbalanced, and more recently with the moon is kind of bringing in that energy of balance. And it may be the case that like usually when the moon is waxing and going into the full moon, that's usually when energy builds. So it may be the case that for a while, whenever you're trying to manifest, didn't really have enough energy or resources, or maybe you didn't have enough energy you felt like to make it happen for yourself. But it seems like with this full moon coming to a crescendo, you're going to see a lot of like rebalancing energy. And I'm almost hearing kind of like diplomacy, because it's being represented by justice reverse, sorry. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it may be the case that like you may be experiencing some sort of energy or resources coming in from another person, because I'm really getting the energy of like, again, the scales are tipping back. And it may be the case that for a while the reason you were short on these resources was because like the power or the energy kind of belonged to somebody else for whatever reason. Yeah, with the Ace of Wands reverse, I'm seeing that power shift back to you in a way. And I feel like whereas with that energy breaking, with that stagnancy that you were kind of in before this energy rush, it kind of feels like you're going to be experiencing a huge like mental like softening, I guess is, it's more like a lightening, because it feels like kind of like a final clearing of like a lot of thoughts. It seems like you've had a lot on your mind, and it feels like something is going to happen to where it finally just kind of dissipates a little bit, and you're kind of able to bring yourself more into this energy of clarity, whereas it almost beforehand felt like you were completely locked up by this like mental load that you were under. It does seem like this is something you've had to put a lot of work in for yourself in order to create this shift back of the energy. Maybe it's the case that you are having to really be in a fighting energy with wherever you're trying to rebalance this from. And for some of you, I am getting the energy that this is another person that you've had to kind of really be very clear and concise with. But for a lot of you, what you're wrestling with is kind of, and what you've been fighting against is kind of, like almost like a lack of luck. And it kind of feels like for a long time you've been kind of putting the amount of work into something where it's been kind of surprising that you really haven't been getting the results you've expected from it, because it kind of feels like while the work has been going well and while you've been doing a lot of it, maybe it's just like almost seems like freak happenings that where things are not coming through in the way they're supposed to. And I'm almost feeling this energy of like divine timing where it just wasn't really time yet. But now as you're like coming in and you finally like tied up all these loose ends, I feel like you're exiting this fighting energy finally. It does feel like a lot of the energy that's coming your way is going to be creative energy. Maybe it's the case that you have kind of needed to think about things in a kind of outside the box kind of way versus how you'd been thinking about them. But now like you're kind of like integrating this energy of enlightenment. Again, that enlightenment comes up. I really feel this energy of like the sun is rising over the like horizon for you, whereas you may have traveled through a pretty long and dark night. But I feel like there's definitely this energy of like clarity, like lightning, almost like this sun energy coming through, although the sun hasn't really made itself known yet. You do have the Page of Wands here, and that is at least a spark. It does kind of seem like you're a little bit nervous about like the way your ideals match up to the energies that you are working against, it kind of feels like there is some sort of defined anti-hero in the situation. So if this is other people, it may be the case that you kind of feel like you have different ideals than who you're surrounded with. But if this is just like a scenario, or even like the universe that you feel like you're fighting against, it feels like you are having to really like adjust yourself from the inside out to kind of wait for your reality to kind of match that right now. And I feel like with this full moon energy coming in, you're going to be feeling that rush of like relief, where you're finally able to not only like, again, the sun is coming over the horizon, you're able to see things a little bit more clearly, but I feel like your nerves are going to be kind of really dissipating. It's going to be an issue where you're kind of understanding that maybe you are a little bit mismatched with the environment that you're in, but not in a bad way, in a way where you can almost kind of, again, like you're raising the temperature within yourself and the world around you is adjusting. And I feel like you're going to be a little bit surprised at how your environment kind of mirrors back the work you've done at you. And that's really exciting. There's also this energy here of being a little bit more vulnerable within yourself and not worried about but not being so worried about doing things right the first time. Like, I kind of feel like you especially with like how much work you've put into this, it kind of feels like you've hit this stage where you almost like hit a grind with it. Like, you don't really have to worry about the work or think about it the same way. But I think that kind of translates to when things do get a little bit hard, or when you do get a little bit stuck, you kind of are a little bit hard on yourself for not being 100% perfect all the time. And I feel like the quality of your work and the things that you put into everything around you, your relationships, your business, whatever it is, I think it really reflects that self-discipline and that like high standard that you have for yourself. But I think that in this particular situation, it may be something that was kind of keeping you from experimenting in new ways and bringing that, again, that creative energy and doing things a little bit differently, because you are so accustomed to doing things right. And I feel like you have systems, a lot of systems in place for how to do things right. But I feel like right now you're needing to come into this energy of experimentation. And I think that's kind of something that you've already felt within yourself. I feel like almost this like, again, this like enlightenment sunlight energy, I feel like it's kind of this spark is coming through you where you're like you're almost like feeling more drawn to be more creative anyways. So I feel like your intuitive nudges have been leading you here. It just might be the case that for a while your standards for yourself have kind of overrode that that willingness to experiment. But I feel like with this full moon, you're really going to be pulled into that energy, and I think you're going to see a lot of really quick results from it. But thank you as always for letting me read your cards. I really appreciate it.